My name is Charlie, and I work for Coaches Across Continents. And with me is Leah Hinnan, who was one of our volunteers through Cameroon and South Africa. And we're going to do a short little presentation on your expectations and some of the fundraising aspects that go into being a global citizen with Coaches Across Continents. All right. Because you're listening to this, I'm sure you have a general idea of what it is that CAC does, but just to go over that in brief, our job is to partner with local NGOs or community organizations all over the world, and we help them year-round implement and use sport to create spaces for conversations and discussions about things like child rights or gender equity, conflict prevention, and really anything that affects that community specifically. So every partner we deal with a little differently because every part of the world has different issues. So before jumping into sorry, there was a bit of a glitch there. However, as much as the year-round implementation is important to CAC, the reason that you are directly getting involved is to experience our own field programs, which means getting on a plane and joining us for typically week-long sessions where we train the local teachers, the local coaches, and whoever else that the local organization wants to work with. Before jumping on that plane, though, the main thing that we require of you after the interview, the Skype interview, and the application process is to talk about your fundraising. So there are many, many different ways you can go about this. One of my favorite stories was of a volunteer who used a FIFA tournament. So he thought that he was really good at FIFA, and he invited a bunch of his friends and a bunch of people from his school to a tournament where they put in some money, and they ended up raising more than $1,000. There are many other ways to raise money, and with us is Leah Hinnan, who, if her microphone is working, I would love to hear from. Miss Leah.
Hello, Charlie. I hope you can hear me.
I can hear.
What I did was basically I had two different ideas that I wanted to implement. One was I did with local schools around here where I live. I sent out flyers to do a sponsoring run here in the town to all the schools, grade 1 to 10. Basically, what I did was in a local gym we set up this obstacle course for these kids, and they would go out and find their own sponsors that they would take their addresses and how much money they want them to sponsor per round of completed obstacle course, and then on a set date they came in, completed the obstacle course, and the more rounds they fulfilled successfully, the more money they got from their personal sponsors, and eventually all that money collected from the kids went towards CAC. And the good thing about that was at the same time as fundraising for CAC, I could always also give something back to the community where I live. So the kids had fun, the parents had fun to see their kids getting involved in sports, getting involved in the community and in a good project. And also the teachers were pretty excited about it. The other project I did was a local competition at the CrossFit gym that I work out at. It was called the Charity Challenge, and everyone had to pay $30 entrance fee to participate. And then the $30 entrance fee of every person went towards CAC. So at the event, I would talk about CAC, what they're doing, all that kind of stuff, and then everyone would work out together, do the competition. There would be little prizes for the first three in the competition, and all the proceeds went to CAC. So that worked very well for me, especially since I'm not the person to post on Facebook for crowd fundraising, because that doesn't work well in Switzerland. as well as I'm not a big fan of going to people and asking them for donations myself. I rather give something back at the same time. So that worked very well for me.
Nice. So on top of, holding little mini competitions, there's, your family and friends you can reach out to. There's countless ways to raise money. And while it is sometimes not always the easiest thing to do to ask for people, um, getting past that barrier is something that I felt has helped me grow professionally and just as a person. And standing behind something is something that, as you get older, is very important to do. Now, that being said, uh, when you're actually past that stage, you've fundraised, you've talked to us, you've applied, we're ready to send you to your country. Uh, Things for you to expect are getting on a plane, arriving in whatever country it is that you're headed to. And typically you'll work with a team of one CAC staff member and then maybe another volunteer or maybe a community impact coach, which are local coaches that we've brought to join a specific program because they've worked with us in the past, and they help us bridge the gap between our cultural background and the background that we're jumping into, and we're connecting different organizations all over the world. So our CICs are very valuable and important parts of a CAC training. Once you're on the field, we like to say 80% of what we do is running around and playing games. There's there the important part is that the lessons about social issues are built into the games themselves. So instead of playing a game and then sitting to talk about it for 15 minutes, the game is what brings out the message itself, which means 80% of the time and 80% of the work on the field for you as global citizens is to play games, which I volunteered for 3 of my summers, was the number one reason for joining CAC. It's fun. It's a bonding experience where you learn a very large amount about different cultures. Aside from having fun and learning the games, our main approach that helps us stand out is our methodology. It's our idea of self-directed learning. And so this is the approach that asking questions and pulling the answers not out of them, but inspiring them or getting them into conversations with themselves is the greatest way to help create sustainable change, because we do not know best. It is not our role to tell them the answer in any situation. It's our role to have them question, harmful cultural or traditional practices. So your role as a global citizen is instead to learn that methodology, especially in the first week, and then as you grow more comfortable, eventually starting to coach some of the games and even lead some of the discussions. Aside from the theoretical and coaching aspect, you're there to help. So that means setting up the fields, taking the attendance, and above all else, respecting the community that you're working in, respecting the people that you're with, even if sometimes they have opinions that seem more foreign to you than any opinion you've ever heard, which will very likely happen. Those are all basic on the field obligations or expectations, and off the field, every program involves a very large amount of paperwork. And for the most part, you're not involved with this, but taking photos throughout the week, that's something that every program does, because at the end we'll post 27 of the very best onto our Facebook. And then also writing or creating a video blog or some sort of medium to explain and to show the rest of the world, mainly your family, your friends, but also spreading it to as many people as you can, what happened that week. What was the result, and what was your general experience? Aside from the work aspects of CAC and the fun aspects of CAC, you're going to very strange countries, which is always a new experience. And we want you to have fun, but our top priorities are your health, your safety, your rest, and then your fun. So normally, between programs, we will travel on a Saturday from one community to the next, and then we'll typically have a rest day on Sunday. But again, every program is different, so you never really know. And during this rest day, and then also during the odd afternoon where we don't have an afternoon session with the coaches, there are sometimes opportunities to go jump off Victoria Falls or go see some lions on a safari or something that's just unbelievably fascinating and very, very fun in that local area. And we 100% encourage that. But again, it's built around the time that we're working, and it is an exhausting experience. So there's always going to be room for a little bit of fun, but it depends a lot on our local partners. Miss Leia, I know that we were in Cameroon together, but then we were also in South Africa. Do you have any experiences that resonated or that helped identify CAC Global Citizen experiences as something that you would recommend to other people?
Well, yeah, definitely. I absolutely loved being with CAC in Cameroon and in South Africa, not just because of being with you, Charlie, but it was in general a really good experience. There were many times, as you said, where some of their point of views of the local people and of the local organization were so different to what I've experienced before, what I've had, but I've learned a lot about having an open mind and not, as you said, having the West is best attitude. And that really stuck with me in a lot of situations. And especially, for example, in South Africa, in Mokopane, where I was with you, there was this one girl in the beginning of the week. She barely talked. She was really quiet. You could tell she loved soccer. You could tell she was enjoying it, but she was really quiet. And by the end of the week, she was coaching games by herself to all the other participants. She grew. She grew a lot of self-confidence, and that was really great to see. Um, yeah. So as far as on field, there's a lot of things I could talk about. Probably wouldn't have the time for that in this little presentation, but also off the field, it was really great. Even if it was just, as you said, the odd afternoon off where we could spend time with people from the local community, from the local organization, being invited to their house for dinner, meeting them for lunch at someone else's house, or having them show us around in their town, in their village. It's very beautiful. So yeah, I can definitely recommend it.
All right. So, as with any experience like this, it's almost a cliche to say, but it will change your life to some extent or another. And if you have any questions about this work or about anything related to Coaches Across Continents, I encourage you to email me. That's charlie@coachesacrosscontinents.org. And I appreciate you taking the time to listen to this. Thank you very much. Thank you, Leia.
You're welcome.
You're welcome.